Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Liberty Logan. I'm here with Liberty Lou, Conspiracy B, and of course, Producer Man himself. We got a special broadcast for you tonight over the sad and unfortunate events that happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. We want to talk a little bit about that. Also, we have first-hand account from a friend of ours that was on the ground there, Ken Corley. So anyway, Lou, why don't you tell us a little bit about how we got a hold of that and what went on?
Yeah, so, today is a sad day. No matter what side, like I said in our little promo earlier, that no matter what side you consider yourself to be on this, not much good news is actually coming out of this. I have many friends there today, and luckily, thank goodness, that they're all safe. Nobody's ultimately hurt, but there was a lot of atrocities caused today. One of our local friends, Ken Corley from Denver, Colorado, was there today filming. And he was there on the ground. We have a great account from him tonight that you're going to need to see. And I wish I had the words to say, but this is just awful. Awful what happened. It was supposed to be a peaceful Unite the Right rally. Unfortunately, groups from all sides came today, and they had to just ruin it for everybody, basically. What do you think, Logan?
I don't know. It turned violent really quickly. I don't like the way the mainstream media portrayed this as, like, instantly calling it a white nationalist rally. Like, that was the first thing I heard about it today, was, like, a white nationalist rally all of a sudden turned violent. And I was like, they actually still have white nationalist rallies? Because I haven't heard that this entire time. Antifa's been claiming it, and they've been claiming to fight it, but I've never heard anybody in any of those groups or protests claim to be white nationalists or white supremacists. Before,
yeah, this is a first.
Especially openly, which was weird to me.
Yeah.
And the way they just instantly hopped on that and started portraying it as that, like, every mainstream media source, CNN, Fox, MSNBC, all of them. I don't know. It all just seems fishy and weird.
So what happened is, we've known about this event for a couple of months now. We were actually going to try to be there today, but unfortunately, we weren't allowed to go. Things happen, life happens. We're stuck here at home, but we had many friends there on the ground taking footage, taking clips and pictures. They got the first-hand accounts.
Right.
It started off peaceful like it was supposed to. This was supposed to be an event to unite the right, because the leftist cultural Marxism that we've been shoved down our throats for the past 8 years, it's been getting out of control, and they've had enough. This isn't just white nationalists. This is independents, libertarians, conservatives, Republicans. We've had enough of your Marxist BS. And so people are trying to stand up and say no peacefully. But unfortunately, we had this group of white nationalists apparently show up, and I don't think anybody...
Anti-Semites.
Yeah.
But it was
who the hell are these
like
people?
50 of them. Like 50 of them showed up, and they were brought in by buses. But I don't know.
It seems to me, like, from what I'm seeing from first-hand accounts, is that these people are also provocateurs paid from the same globalist elitists, like George Soros. They're being funded by the same side, is what it seems like to me.
I still maintain the theory that George Soros funded the white nationalists and funds Antifa. I mean,
exactly.
If you're going to fund Antifa, they need somebody to fight, and so far nobody at any of the rallies that they've showed up to protest and cause destruction at have ever said that they are white supremacists or white nationalists until all of a sudden
outside of Richard Spencer.
Yeah, outside of Richard Spencer, but I mean, how big of a following does he really have? I mean, he's a kingpin of it, but I honestly think he's a kingpin of that simply because there has to be one.
Well, think about it this way. I mean, honestly, I'm always going to look at this as an alternative motive, just like any other riots. It always comes down to a protest, but these are riots. Essentially, if everybody's coming together and protesting, that's fine. But when you're in the streets, you are actually destroying property, and that's a riot. So, I mean, this instance today, no, that should not be taken into accountability. But at the same time, it is a very horrible thing that happened. Right. But honestly, it's surprising that this is getting as much heat as it is with the violence that has been going on. But when it comes to the leftists actually causing this kind of damage, it doesn't actually come to light. But this one has been blown out of proportion.
Well, you're nailing it, Brock. You just nailed it right there. The mainstream media today, they've been trying to pin this on white nationalists and Republicans and conservatives, they're all so bad. They're all so racist. But now they have it because we had this group like come in and just destroy this event. And now that's all you hear, even from Fox News, is these white nationalists, these white nationalists, these white nationalists.
Every that's a danger. Outlet is saying white nationalists over and over again. And even though they're like a lot of the groups that were there, like the Oath Keepers were there. They're a huge group of former military people that like still want to keep their oath to the Constitution. They were there. They're not white nationalists. They have people from all different kinds of nationalities.
There's libertarians there. There's conservatives there. There's independents there. This isn't a white nationalist
There
rally.
was some white nationalist assholes, and like maybe they were paid, maybe they weren't. Either way, I definitely don't agree with their views because they're incredibly racist and ridiculous.
And that does not represent the movement. Those people do not represent the movement, and I'm going to have to say it right here.
And then they were just organized as hell out of nowhere.
I disavow any white nationalists. I'm sorry. Yes, I might agree with some of your ideas about the First Amendment, and yes, you do have the right to speak. Let's let that be known. But your racism reeks of stupidity and ignorance. I'm sorry. Because there's Hispanic people out there on this Unite the Right thing. There's black Americans out there. There's Asian Americans out there. And we got the mainstream media saying this is a white nationalist rally. That's not what this was.
They just found the white nationalists.
No, labeling is the easiest thing, especially a news publication can do. I mean, it can start as one thing, label as another, especially when an event like this happens.
Well,
with such a bad outcome. Yeah, they're going to label this to whatever fits their agenda.
Right. They think they're sitting on a gold mine right now. The mainstream media, including Fox News, they think they're sitting on a gold mine right now. They think that all conservatives, all libertarians, and anybody that disagrees with the groupthink cultural Marxist bullshit is a racist white nationalist. That is not true. That is just not true.
Another thing that I noticed, Louis, is that we have not heard anything about Berkeley from the mainstream media. We haven't gotten a lot of coverage on other violence that has happened on behalf of the left. And there were people killed, or at least one person killed last year, or this year in the Berkeley riots, or was that last year? And and stabbings and all sorts of stuff. But one person drives a car into someone else, and all of a sudden it's they engage in the identity politics.
That was pretty violent.
And let's also
I think that's
let's
the thing
also
that
hit
maybe
the
sets it apart is like it was such a violent scene that a lot of people saw and captured on video. That might be what sets it apart.
Right.
But still, either way, you shouldn't take one death over the other and say it's more or less justified.
No, not at all. What were you going to say, bro?
It's not, but it's how it's displayed. As you just said, it doesn't matter who actually suffered casualties on which side. It's the fact of how it's downplayed or how it's overplayed that I have a problem with. When it comes to something like BLM and also Antifa, when there's violence on that act, it's almost sometimes on left media it's justified. But when it comes to right media, it's almost like a ha-ha situation.
Right.
And then we got things on the other side, and it's completely vice versa. I'm not trying to pick a side here. Any loss of human life when it comes to protesting is really just not a good way to. It's not a good way to go about it. But it's just how America is reacting based off each side. If your side somehow causes these casualties or it causes this violence, it's actually, it's not condemned. It's everybody thinks it's a great thing. That's a step forward. It's progressive. But that is a horrible outlook on human life, especially with the left. If they think human rights and human life is such in high regard, I can't believe they would be cheering for the fact that this atrocity happened.
Oh, they're happy as hell.
Of course they're happy, and it really upsets me. That's what truly upsets me.
Gun that they've been looking for forever. Finally have it. I mean, it caused them creating violence for years, but they finally have the smoking gun, and I really do think it's just, I don't know, I keep coming back to it because it is just so out of nowhere that these guys show up in vans, they're incredibly organized, and all of a sudden this is all about white supremacists and stuff.
That's all you hear. That's all you hear from the mainstream media right now is there's a white supremacist, the white supremacist.
One time Antifa shows up, starts calling people Nazis and white supremacists and white nationalists and all this, it just happens to be right this one time when they're protesting the removal of a Robert E. Lee statue.
Yeah, and that's what this all was around too. Was that the leftists wanted to take down a Robert E. Lee statue down in Charlottesville, Virginia. So I mean,
let's talk more about that because you know how I feel about conspiracies. Because honestly, I would like to think this is just like a misconception, just something happened in an event. But honestly, there's always some other puppeteer at work pulling strings. So what was actually going down with this event? Like, how far ahead was it planned with? Like,
it's been months.
Oh, yeah.
Months. It's supposed to be a peaceful,
time.
unite the right rally. I mean, libertarians are going there. Conservatives are going there. Independents are going there.
Right.
People that are just sick and tired of the leftist cultural Marxism that we're getting shoved down our throats, and they're asking the federal government to pass policies to restrict freedom of speech, and we've had enough. Okay,
Isn't it kind of funny though?
Right.
Isn't it kind of funny though? Acts of terrorism happened because it was always a scapegoat. America loves scapegoats, and I
need
just
a scapegoat. They
always
require
pin. They
scapegoats.
always need one. First, it was Al Qaeda or Al Qaeda, whatever the hell you want to call them.
Right.
Then it was and then we had I can't think of names right now, but Al Qaeda. It comes down to
Libya,
scapegoats.
Egypt.
Exactly, it comes down to scapegoats.
Iran,
so now,
Iraq.
also you have it. Yeah, you have a terrorist attack, and nowadays it's kind of weird. Just after the Trump election, we're having scapegoats that are more so driven towards political cause as opposed to foreign threats. Prior to this, it's always been a foreign threat that caused any kind of damage to the U.S. in any way.
And it's really
now we're looking at it's more so a left or a right. And right now, it seems like a terrorist attack, and it's being pinned on the right. When's the next one going to be pinned on the left? I feel like
the mainstream
they're
media
attempting
will
to
never
pit us
pin on
against
the
each other.
No, they won't.
They're trying
The
to pit us
mainstream
against
media
each other.
will never pin on the left.
No,
and
they
like I
can't.
told you today, Brock, it's
That's
an easy
crazy.
pattern to follow. You already know who did it because as soon as someone commits an atrocity like this, if they name the person's identity or skin color, then you automatically know that it was a white Christian. If they don't name the person and they don't name the skin color, you automatically know who it is. We know, we already know. The mainstream media is that fake. It's that fake. It's that obvious and that easy to decipher it. If a terrorist attack happens, they won't say the nationality of the person. They won't say what his belief system was. But if a white Christian American male commits the atrocity, then that is released immediately. It's that easy to follow along with, and the mainstream media will not ever cover the real news. They are fake news.
Of course, and it's not. I wouldn't say fake news. It's fabricated news. As far as fabricated, there's one thing.
It's not news. It's propaganda.
It's dodging. It's dodging. As far as like, if you receive information. If someone asks you straight out a question like, "Hey, Louis, do you like to drink light beer or dark beer?" And then your answer is something around the lines of, "Well, I enjoy beer of all kinds because I feel like the diversity of the beers actually make a stronger appeal to beer." And that's what politicians do every friggin' time. That's what they all do.
Yes, class warfare.
You can look at it. You can look at the most recent election. You can look at the past two elections. Anytime an actual question is put forward to these politicians, they don't have a direct answer. They have an answer that's appealable to everybody.
Yeah.
Regardless of what they actually believe in or what they want to actually make happen.
Right. Well, you're nailing it, Brock. Let's just look at the prison culture. In order to keep the prisoners in control, the prison guards use a little tactic called class warfare, race warfare. What they do is they keep you in separate groups. They like to separate people. So the Asians hang out with each other. This gang hangs out with each other. This gang hangs out with each other. The white nationalists. That way, if they're all fighting with each other, then it's easier to control the entire populace. I know, right? No, it sounds funny, but this is how they do it.
No, okay,
they
go on.
break you up into groups. They keep you by race, skin color, creed, and all that, and that way it's easier to control the entire populace because everyone's fighting with each other.
No, you can't control a population if they're united. You're absolutely right.
Exactly. Bada boom, bada bing. Right there, you nailed it.
Because there's more of them than there are, or there's more of us than there are of them, and they know it.
So
they
how
have to keep it separated?
Based off that prison deal you just gave us, how is that any different from actual American politics today?
It's the
Because
exact same thing. You
it's
just
the exact
nailed
same
it.
thing.
It's not.
Exact same thing.
Yeah.
Thank Christ. Can we talk about that? 'Cause I feel like we should talk about that.
Yeah, it's tribalism.
I think we should too, but I think we should also get back to the point of what happened today.
Yes, yes, we should.
I think we should play a clip from what the mainstream media is trying to say of what happened today. From what I'm getting from all the accounts and my friends and fans and followers that were there today, is that they really tried to have a peaceful rally, and of course Antifa and BLM was bust in. They started throwing water balloons full of piss and other chemicals, urine, human feces, beating people up with bats. And the mayor of Charlottesville told the police department of Charlottesville to stand down, to not do anything about Antifa and BLM and antagonizing. And then guess what happened? The right wing retaliated, and very strongly. Then, not only did that happen, the police department then decided that the assembly was not lawful and needed to disperse, or you'll be arrested. After that, the cops told the right wing they had to walk through the Antifa line to leave the city or they'd be arrested. What the hell did they think was going to happen? And shame on the mayor of Charlottesville for ordering the cops to stand down. Same thing as Berkeley. The same thing that happened in Berkeley. The cops were told to stand down, allow these fools, the commie bastards, Cobra commanders, to do whatever the hell they wanted and get away with it. But as soon as a conservative or the right wing stands back up, they're arrested.
Yeah, and
Well,
not
that's
only
the one
that,
thing
he
I-
also he came out and had in his speech when he was saying that all these white nationalists that got bussed in from out of state need to go home. We don't want you here and everything like that. He never referenced anything about the Antifa people that were bussed in from out of state to provoke and do all that kind of stuff and cause violence too. It was very one-sided coming from him. And I think he was the main one that perpetrated and like started fueling this white nationalist narrative, like right off the bat.
If you guys want to see this clip, this is what we have from CNN on the violent clash at, quote, white nationalist rally.
CNN.
We begin
white
with breaking
nationalist
news
rally.
from Charlottesville, Virginia, where 2 people have been injured in an altercation with protesters who are out in force.
It would only
for
be
the planned
racist if it was any other
removal of a
culture.
Confederate
Nationalist.
statue. Watch this.
And
Well, this ugly scene unfolded just moments ago. From what we understand, clergy members have just arrived at Emancipation Park. That's the site of that protest today, leading groups in prayer. Meantime, militiamen armed with guns also began arriving a short while ago, and you see the result. Police are expecting thousands of people to show up for this demonstration today. The actual event was supposed to start an hour from now, but obviously the tensions in the crowd boiled over. All of this following violent clashes breaking out at a white nationalist march last night at the University of Virginia.
Can I just bring something up really quick about that? Because I just noticed this in the report.
absolutely.
Yeah, they said that a lot of militia members with guns that were armed
begin
were
with
showing
breaking-
up. I've seen a lot of videos on this. I haven't seen one person with a gun.
Yeah, I know some of our friends were personally concealed carrying, but
Yeah, but
I haven't seen any of that actually like come to fruition.
when
you know
they
what
say
I mean?
show up armed, they're usually meaning like they're carrying like ARs openly and that kind of thing. Is what like the connotation I got from it was like, you know, they were militia members showing up with like automatic, or maybe not automatic, but military grade semi-automatic rifles. But
Basically,
no,
the civilian.
I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, no, it was mostly sticks and shields and baseball helmets.
Yeah.
Look, these I have to say it right now. These protests are silly AF, dude. There's a bunch of people coming together. They pretend that like they dress up in little like cosplay armaments with shields and swords. This is left and right. I mean, they come in with pepper spray. Like pepper spray, how weak do you have to be to run in and pepper spray somebody and run away? Because
Well,
every
that's mostly
video
on the
I've seen,
Antifa side, but
weak.
you raise a good point.
no, that's
Brock.
an Antifa side. But we can go to the alt-right if I have to, where they have their shields and little sticks. Like, are you serious? I mean,
Well, you got to understand
what-
that.
no,
like,
Getting
protesting
bricks thrown
goes
at
one
them
of
and
two
stuff,
ways.
man. What are they supposed to do?
Right, like
protesting
I've
goes
said,
one of two
people
ways:
have had
go
enough.
violent, or go home.
Right.
I
Well,
mean,
these people have, Brock, you
why
have to
are they going
understand that
halfway?
Americans like this have had enough. We've been shoved cultural Marxism down our throats for so long, and the
I
mainstream
understand.
media, they're helping shove it down our throats as well. Like, people have had enough. It's time to stand up. They don't
sick
want
of
to
it.
take it anymore. And
Well-
what does it take? Because the mainstream media is not going to help them. Their local government's not going to help them. Their national representative government's not going to help them. These people are at wit's end, and they're going to do whatever it takes to get the message out.
And you even said it yourself.
Well,
Don't
this
forget who
is
started
becoming
the
a-
attacks. Don't forget who
Right.
started the violence way back when. Not even
No,
just
no, no.
today or anything
That's
like that.
definitely left. We agree on that, most certainly. I'm just saying, violence meets violence. Why are we in this mid grade right now? I mean,
I myself
if
sit back.
that's what truly America wants, I'm tired of beating around the bush. I'm not picking a side. I'm not trying to say one side's better than the other. I'm just saying, why are these people coming out in public and actually protesting, but they're actually prepared for violence, but they won't actually commit real violence? They're not. It's kind of funny, especially with the left.
This is just a step.
They always want to say
Knocking off.
like, oh, everyone, people gotta die. Everybody, war.
It always
Like, fucking
escalates
do it.
slowly.
Just
it always
do it.
escalates slowly. Nobody wants to be the first one to shoot somebody in a war.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of funny. Revolutionary War, isn't there's like a wives' tale around that with like the first shot? You know what I'm talking about?
Wives'
Where
tale.
like
The
there was
Shot heard
man.
around the world.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny
And
that
the
you
men on
guys.
the
Bridge.
It's funny that you guys mentioned that because one of our followers commented on the stream. I feel like this won't be split up until tens of thousands. I'm assuming what he said of people are killed at one of these events. So I think that's totally true because the violence is just going to continue to ramp up until something is done on either side. And I honestly, the worst thing that could be done is we lose our rights over this, and more and more people
that's a
are.
big concern.
Yeah, I mean,
no,
like
that's the biggest one.
Yeah, even
no,
Fox News was saying like we need to shut down these kind of protests, and
Yeah,
these kind of gatherings.
Fox News,
Fox News was saying
CNN,
that.
MSNBC. We have
It's
to
coming down to
ban
that.
protests.
They're like,
Yeah.
we need to stop it. We
elites.
need
The
to stop
elites want
everything.
the elites want to take away our freedom of speech. It
Want us
doesn't
to
have
be
anything to do
drones.
with left or right. On the
Yeah.
top of both parties want to take away your rights for sure.
Yep, just in a different way.
Yeah.
You want a conspiracy, man? There's something bigger at work here. That's just how I feel every time. I mean,
It's true.
we're just getting beaten down. I mean, and just the fact that we can take the Trump election into effect too, because everyone's like, "Oh, it's a Russian conspiracy,"
And that's a bunch of
No,
hogwash. I
it's
can't
a bunch of
believe it's still-
hogwash, absolutely. But we were given two absolute crap candidates. I'm sorry, I mean Trump. I agree with a few things he does. I disagree with a lot of things he does. I'm not going to attack the guy. I'm just saying, like, we were given two crap candidates. It was almost staged, dude. It was almost staged just to make a civil unrest. Because how predictable was that? How predictable was civil unrest from an election between Hillary
That's what they
effing
want.
Clinton and Trump? That was like, it doesn't matter who won. Let's just do a hypothetical. What if Hillary won?
Oh,
It'll be
dear
civil
God.
unrest.
Where would be right now, and we'd be in the same position this moment under Democratic rule, but it would really be the same effect. The people fighting amongst ourselves, and I feel like I don't care what happened, liberty aside. I'm just saying something. This is just too perfect. This is too perfect because we are fighting amongst each other so rampantly. We are ignoring anything that's going on.
We're too divided, and the problem is the
So
mainstream
divided.
Get
media.
nuked by North Korea, yet this is all we're talking about.
Right.
Like
The
that's
mainstream
that's
media
the
is
extent of
pushing a narrative
Well,
that is
how do you
completely
take down a
false.
superpower? How do you take down a superpower? It happened the
within.
same thing with the Roman Empire.
From within.
From within.
Trojan horse
And I
the
feel
shit
like
out of them.
whoever is actually pulling strings, this is not Trump, this is not Hillary, they own them. But something is happening right now, which is dividing this country in a way it hasn't seen in almost, what was it, a Civil War, 1865?
1860.
1861, I think, I believe.
Whatever, about 150
Ended
years
in
ago.
1865.
This is one of the worst divisions we've seen in a very long time, and I refuse to believe this is just by chance. I think that this was planned.
You're right
yeah.
on the money,
No,
Brock.
definitely.
This is definitely
Yeah,
planned.
that's
The
what I was
media's
saying.
in on it.
Yeah, they have to be in on it. I mean, it happened too quickly that they called it a white nationalist protest. Like in the video that you guys are going to see from the firsthand account that we have on the ground, is the media started saying all these things about it going crazy and turning violent before anybody had even showed up to this thing yet. So
yeah,
I mean, they definitely had this
we've been
plan.
talking about this in our podcast. We've been talking about this. This is it's a divisive plan. It's been planned out.
It's called cultural
just
subversion. And it's been working on us for a long time, and it's just now coming to fruition.
Talk about that. Talk about cultural subversion. Go more into that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what it is. Originally, it was a strategy by the USSR to infiltrate the United States population and slowly turn them less and less patriotic and more on their own government, so that we didn't see ourselves as the good guys anymore. So if we didn't see ourselves as the good guys anymore, then the Russians would be replaced as the good guys. Their ideologies of communism and socialism would be replaced with capitalism and self-ownership. And then eventually, over time, like, you would be less and less proud of your country, more and more generations would feel less and less proud, and then they would want to voluntarily make a huge switch to a completely different ideology, which would be the communism or socialism, and it seems to be working extremely well. A lot of
you are hitting that on
KGB agents have come out and spoken about this, and interviews going all the way back to the 70s. A lot of different patriot groups have said things about this too. And I mean, you can definitely just see it working. And Russia's not the only one that's tried it. Several other countries have tried it, because it's like you said, how do you take down a superpower? You have to do it from within. That was even predicted by, I believe, Thomas Jefferson. He said, I don't know if it was him, so don't quote me on this, but
that's fine.
I believe he said, the only way America will ever be destroyed is not by some foreign power. They could never take a blade of American soil by force, but the true destruction of America and Americans will come from within. And that's,
well, look at the mainstream media, guys.
No,
we all here know that this Russian collusion thing is a crock of shit. We know this, but look at the mainstream media. You got Tom Brokaw and Keith Olbermann. We're being ruled by Russian scum. Russian scum. We're at war with Russia. What a load of hogwash. And everybody knows
the
it.
Red Scare.
It's a bunch of poppycock. It's a bunch of poppycock, guys. I don't know. I don't know.
But
North
look at
Korea.
that. We got the
You should be afraid
prostitute
of North
media
Korea.
out there. They're the Praetorian Guard for the deep state.
Nice.
We have deep state operatives out there in Virginia today. Oh, God! I gotta try to keep it together. I'm sorry. Hang tight. I'm sorry.
No, dude, this
We
is
gotta
huge.
get back to the
man.
main story
Keep
here,
it
guys.
real.
Yeah, we do. We got to get back to the story, because we do
Yes.
have a guy
So-
on the ground that sent us exclusive content about a recap.
Yeah, let's play that. Let's
Oh.
play that.
Yeah.
God, I just want to rage. I can't. But the mainstream media is out there telling you that this is a white nationalist rally. We've known about this rally for 2 months and nothing to do with skin color.
Brother,
Right.
when it comes to mainstream
Nothing.
media, you're nothing but a salmon swimming upstream against that.
God.
Right.
Well,
Deep
people
breaths.
are starting to wake up in America, and that is
thank God.
glorious.
That is true. Thank God. We need it. This is starting to get really bad, especially now. I mean, everyone that was saying, "Oh, you're crazy to ever predict a second civil war," is like, now pretty much everybody's saying there's going to be a second civil war.
goodness.
I was saying it
You,
like
you
12
probably
years
think
ago,
lizards
but
control
now,
the United
holy
States
shit.
government too, huh, Logan?
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and bees live under the White House, and that the moon landing was faked.
The moon landing was faked, and all
The Earth
gods
is-
and all
the Earth is
religions were
flat.
actually ancient aliens, not deities. Alien races that came here and made us farm gold.
I'm sorry,
for them.
I digress. The fact of the matter is the mainstream media is faker than unicorns. Continue on with the clips, guys. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Let's play that one by Ken Corley so everyone can get a good recap.
Yes,
of
this is a local friend of ours. He was there today. Let's listen to him.
Hey, what's up, Louie? I just wanted to give you just a first-hand account of what I experienced today in the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville. So basically, the morning started off. We rallied at McIntyre Park. We had about there were quite a few groups there. Some white nationalist groups. The Alt Knights were there. Identity Europa was there. And we basically just spent the first 15 minutes just getting organized. We had Identity Europa and the nationalist groups are very organized. They had people coming in vans, dropping them off at the event. I started to receive text messages. This was maybe 2 hours before the event even started, maybe even 3 hours. It was around 9 o'clock a.m. our time here. And got some messages from family members and friends saying, yeah, we're seeing news stories, this stuff's getting crazy. And we didn't even have really many people there at that time. So what happened was we then sped it up. We started dropping off busloads of people. I volunteered to help Augustus Invictus with his security detail today with some of the other alt knights. The opportunity came up, and we decided to keep him safe during the event while he would make his rounds and talk to people. And so we worked with him. We parked over in a safe area, and we began to make our way up to the event. And right when we hit the street where the event was, we were met with a lot of aggression from the Antifa people. Not physical violence, but more verbal violence. They mistook him for Richard Spencer, and started calling him names. And he was very polite. And basically said, "No, my name is Augustus." And we just had a few words. And at that point, we walked up into the park, and things were good for maybe 15, 20 minutes. We walked around, we talked to people, it was very cordial. And I noticed things started to get a little louder, and we started to see some people from our side come in, and they were pepper sprayed, they were maced. A few guys had bruises on their faces, had knots on their eyes from clean punches that had happened. And so I helped a few people get their eyes washed out, and they were saying that their words to me were that they basically just got fucked with. Like, they walked up and no questions asked. They either got hit or they were sprayed with pepper spray. So we helped those guys out. And then I looked out over the street, and I can see the two sides literally at a kind of at a crossroads, staring each other down. And it was alt knights. It was some nationalist groups. I saw a lot of the Confederate flags up in the air, and I saw balloons, bottles, all kinds of chemicals and stuff flying over from the Antifa side, hitting our side. And then I saw almost like a return volley of shit from the other side. They were throwing water bottles, and whatever was thrown at them was launched back in their direction. So that was going on for quite a while. One of the guys said to me, he goes, "Yeah, we were sitting out there, and we saw a tear gas canister come flying over from the Antifa side and land right in the middle of us. So we grabbed it and threw it back at them." That's pretty much what I heard. Within maybe 15 minutes of that, I started to cough, and my throat was just extremely irritated, and my eyes didn't feel right. I could feel something was different about just the way I felt, and I realized that it was basically the CS gas that they had launched in the street was starting to blow into the park, which is going to happen. So a few of us were not feeling too good from that, and we basically just kept an eye on Augustus for the next 10-15 minutes, and then just like that, cop comes in with a blowhorn. He declared this is an unlawful assembly, you need to leave now. So as we were packing up to leave, I looked over the other side of the wall, and I saw the riot police. So they had the state police there, and then they had the city police there, and then they had the riot police. The riot police were sitting on a brick wall on the lower side of the wall, just sitting in a line like a bunch of kids eating lunch at recess. Okay, they didn't do shit. They just sat there. Okay, so this notion that they were mobilized or actually gave a damn, it didn't happen that way. So I watched that, and as we began to push out of the park, some of the nationalist groups began to form up, and we walked with them out of the park, and we began to have a lot of verbal resistance, a lot of people placing blame on us. Look what you've caused, look what you've done, you fucking racist, you KKK, fucking blah blah blah. And of course we yelled back at them, and we had to threaten a few of them with pepper spray, but eventually they backed off, and we had a few people follow us in their vehicles. We had to walk back to McIntyre Park, which is probably about 2.5 miles away from Lee Park, which is where the event was held. And we had a lot of people driving by, "Fuck you, go home," blah, blah, blah. We had one woman follow us all the way back to the park, just talking shit the whole time. I admired the fact she was so brave that she showed up by herself, but her message was just all kinds of wrong. And then when we got to McIntyre Park, we took a 5-minute break from all the walking, and we had a bunch of people from the leftist side show up in vans. Like, they made it a point to come over and run their mouths. So they came up to us, they got out of their trucks, and they were flipping us off. One woman, she had her little kid, and she was just sitting there flipping us off like this. She wouldn't debate with us, she wouldn't argue with us, she just sat there like this, going like this the whole time. And the kid, you could see he was visibly scared, like he was trying to pull her arm to get her to like stop, you know? And the fact that, you know, we were just so disgusted by the fact that this woman would use her child to you know, push forward her political agenda onto us. We found to be absolutely disgusting. And the first thing I thought of was the communists in the Vietnam War. You know, they would, and even in Iraq, you know, they would, you know, strap bombs to the babies, or they would send the kids in with or send the kids in with bombs, you know, because they knew that the troops would be welcoming, or, you know, a kid has a very disarming nature, and, you know, and then that's how they would get to the troops. So that's just kind of what it reminded me of, that same sort of psychosis. So we got back to McIntyre Park, back to our vehicles, and I saw a bunch of people kind of scurrying and running to their cars very quickly. There was a lot of people there, maybe 60, 70 people. And I asked a woman there, I said, what's everyone rushing on about? And they said, we just heard that the National Guard is out here right now, and the police have, they have basically paddy wagons, and they're rounding people up. So if they see you and they know you're a part of the rally, they're just going to arrest you on site and put you into the van and take you out. So that's not something that I wanted to be a part of. So I got in my car, I hit the fucking road, and we ended up meeting up with Augustus Invictus and some of the other knights later on for some drinks and stuff to talk about stories of the day. But it's my understanding that when I was leaving, I was getting into my car, and Richard Spencer was standing on the sidewalk next to my car, and he was giving sort of like an impromptu speech to his followers right there in the park. I left. I didn't want to stick around to see what was going to happen. And I heard later on that he was arrested. So I'm not sure if that's true. I'm not sure how that worked out, but I do know that the city was definitely on some kind of lockdown. I didn't know that the car thing even happened until I got back to the restaurant. We were looking over the news footage on CNN, and we saw the stuff that was going on. And then I heard again that, you know, 2 cops were killed when a plane or when their helicopter crashed. So yeah, so those cops, they did fucking nothing, dude. They did jack shit. They sat there. They looked good. Okay, so they sat there in formation. They formed a perimeter, but they didn't talk to anybody. They didn't engage with anybody. They, from all the things that I saw and all the things that I heard from guys in my unit, the guys that I work with, the cops they didn't contribute one bit. You had people going in there with masks, and they were just putting up blockades. We had our guys kicking down blockades. I think you could even see some of that on CNN. You know, you had guys trying to push through and block the entrance to the park, literally block these people from getting in. And we had guys calling up to the nationalists saying, we need a shield formation. And these guys would go down into the street and create a shield barricade, basically a shield barricade to protect their guys to get them in. So that's how stupid and insane the whole thing was. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. It's everything you would think a shit show would be. It just is what it is. It's, you know, none of our guys got to speak. So if I were to look at the pros and cons, I would say we definitely got a chance to expose the ugliness of the left today. The cons would be we didn't get to be heard. But we made a stand. We got out there. We said, fuck you. We legally had the permit. Okay, the ACLU and the Rutherford Institute came in and said, you will reinstate these permits, and under threat of lawsuit. And it's my understanding that the City Hall didn't respond. They didn't respond by the deadline. I don't know what that means in legal terms. I would think that the next step would be a lawsuit. But that's my understanding, is that we were there legally. The permit at the 11th hour, Jason Kessler had said, yep, we're good. We got the permit. It's been declared legal. We are good to go. So we were there legally until they declared it an illegal assembly, which was maybe an hour into the event. So whatever CNN's putting out there, it's some twisted shit. We're watching this and we're laughing, and it's just it's not the way things happen. So anyhow, that's how things went today. That's my account of the events, and that's pretty much it. So cheers.
All right, so yeah, a little bit different than what you were seeing earlier when we were playing the MSN clips, I'm sure.
Right, and
shocked.
I just got to say right now that no, we're not out here supporting and full bowing down to the alt-knights.
No.
What I do want to say here is, though, that everybody has the right to freedom of speech, and what happened today was not a white nationalist rally.
No.
There wasn't some kind of crazy oppression going on here. The only crazy oppression that happened here is the fact that Antifa and BLM was busting, and they started violence with the right, and they got exactly what they wanted. The mainstream media got exactly what they wanted. Now they're on there, on the news, just blasting out white nationalists, white nationalists, white nationalists. Oh.
Right, and I'll admit, like, the alt-knights and the Proud Boys, their tactics are a little bit more extreme than I'd say ours are, but they're not white supremacists. They're not white nationalists. They don't align with that way of thinking. They agree that they should have their, freedom of speech to say what they want, but they definitely don't agree with it.
Everyone should get freedom. Everyone should get freedom of speech. Unfortunately, we were in this weird position where freedom of speech made this bastard child hate speech. And where the line is drawn off of hate speech and freedom of speech is honestly being skewed to whoever's politics they're looking to advance.
Yeah.
I mean, in all honesty, I think all speech should be free speech, especially in this country. Mm-hmm. But it's strange, man. I don't know. I don't even know how to progress with it. Honestly, it's getting rough out here.
The leftists got what they want today. Whether you call it whatever you side with, whatever you call yourself with, they shut down freedom of speech essentially. And they're demonizing all right-wing people. Doesn't matter, if you're a libertarian, a conservative, and whatever, but, all of us now apparently are white nationalists.
Right, because of 50 a-holes in a group of more than 500.
And they're probably not even right-wing guys.
No,
I'm getting reports of paid provocateurs being paid to dress up and look like Nazis.
When was the last time you heard of white nationalists getting bussed into a protest?
Oh, Antifa? Oh, well, I mean...
They gave you buses, they gave you a free lunch, and dropped you off. I can't think of
what we got proven in the election last year?
Happens.
A lot of these paid protesters by the DNC and the Democratic Party, they actually get health insurance. A paid provocateur ggets health insurance.
Damn.
That is ridiculous.
And a lot of these guys will make $15 to $25 an hour provocateuring.
Right. They have a vested interest in keeping this up.
And Logan, you made a great point there. We are libertarians here, obviously, and we went to that impeach Trump rally. I think you could see that if you guys saw our video before. We were there to peacefully say no.
Right. Very peacefully. We weren't there for
and
more
some
than
people on their
3
side,
minutes.
they got it. They saw what we were doing, and they recognized it, and they were like, "Oh, wow." Some of them just hated us and had to block our cameras with signs and tell us how much racist we are and bigots we are, But we didn't initiate. All we did was stand there and peacefully protest. And
we weren't there for 3 minutes before we got called a Nazi.
Right. That's what the left is today. So you guys,
have the camera out yet?
People watching
it's
today,
labeling. It's easy. It's so easy.
People watching now.
Anybody that doesn't agree with you is X name or X term.
Well, now all of us right here on this podcast, we're all white nationalists now. Why? Because we're not demonizing the right wing.
Some asshole's going to make that a video or sound clip. Everyone on this podcast is white nationalists now. See, they said it. It's like, shit.
Oh, right.
That's just how it works, man. That's just how it works. It's all trends, and it's all
who said what. Yeah, I'm going to pick the words out and rearrange them.
I love video editing is my favorite because
well, it's
it doesn't matter what I see online. They can edit a video to prove their point. It doesn't matter what the speech was about. It doesn't matter what it actually entailed to. They can edit it to prove their point and add a little tagline at the top that says, can you believe this?
Oh.
It's all fake, dude. It's all fake. Most people, I wouldn't be surprised if 90% of people take their actual input of news off Facebook. I mean, as far as not just Facebook, like blogs
Nobody
or
watches
vlogs,
the news anymore.
literally just memes. most people who probably get their freaking news off memes. I'm not even kidding.
Well, that's sad, but probably true.
Let's get back to our topics here, guys. Hang tight. Let's not digress too far here.
Right, yeah.
We want to definitely show the clip today of the car crash. This is going to be kind of graphic, you guys.
Yeah.
Just a trigger warning. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Trigger warning. This is what happened today. There's very much controversy surrounding this. We really don't know who the guy is yet. The mainstream media is trying to pin it on a right-wing guy. Obviously, duh, but what we do know is that there's many stories out there. There's stories saying that this guy in the car was attacked by BLM and Antifa, and he got scared and freaked out and tried to drive away and eventually hit a bunch of people. There's stories out there saying that he's a white nationalist Republican Trump supporter and he just wanted to kill BLM and Antifa. We don't know the true full answers yet, and there's even more controversy surrounding who the guy is and why his shirts are different and his mugshot and the picture of him being arrested. There's a lot of news still coming out.
This is going to be another mental health thing, honestly.
Yeah, probably. Yes. Thank you,
Sam. I'm so glad you brought that up.
But it's going to
honestly.
Because the liberals can't involve guns this time, so they
already started. They already started talking about possibly banning cars. They already even Fox was talking about that crap. It's like one attack involving a car now at a protest.
See, isn't that crazy? Yeah. Us shit posting and trolling all the time when liberals are saying like we gotta ban the guns because we can save one life. Well, people like us, we go out there and put a joke post out there saying like, well, why don't we just ban cars then? Because so many people die from that. Well, guess what? Like we predicted, here you go, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, mainstream media is now asking to ban cars.
Well, remember, this is the American left. They're overachievers. They skedaddled right past knives, and they went right into
But it's
vehicles.
okay, guys. It's okay. They have a degree, so we should believe them.
Right.
If you need a degree to call bullshit when
What's
you
your
see
degree
it.
in? Lesbian dance art. Ah, shit.
Intersectional
You
feminism.
must know more
Gender
than I do.
studies.
Yes, gender studies.
The most useful and effective college degree. Right. Here's that clip, boys.
Yeah, play that.
It's graphic, guys.
Explaining to our viewers what we're watching right now here. This is where the car crash happened.
See, again,
I'm sure you heard that there was a car that basically plowed into a crowd. There's still an investigation ongoing. It looked as though they were taking somebody away in handcuffs. But this is just another example. I mean, we're not only talking open carry, we're talking vehicles that are potential deadly weapons. And anybody could just ram into any of these crowds and kill. And at this point, there have been many injuries.
It's kind of funny because you can like take
nobody killed yet. But how do they prevent people from getting killed? I mean, it's already been deemed unlawful by local officials. Anyone who participates in this Unite rally, it's a
how do you take a
misdemeanor.
good term like nationalist, but when you put white in front of it, so white nationalist, it becomes a bad term.
Yeah, why is that?
With these protests.
It's because the left has driven it towards that.
Yeah.
The white is
I honestly think it would be like if you were like Asian nationalist, maybe that would.
Yeah, right.
Any kind of like national. Yeah.
What would that headline look like?
I don't know.
Asian nationalist
or like
Middle
black
Eastern
nationalist. Black nationalist was a thing for a while, and that wasn't very good because that was like the like kind of
Black Pride. No, that's different.
No, it was
that's civil rights.
It was like the very militant wing of like the Black Panthers, or like black nationalists and that kind of thing.
Right.
So I don't think it's just white. I think it's any time that you put a race in front of the word nationalist, it becomes.
You guys, that's my favorite part about PC, like politically correct. As opposed to saying American, it's always like, oh, you're African American. Oh, you're Hispanic American. Oh, you're Black American. We are all American. I don't understand where this. I fail to understand where the understanding of racism, even in the supposed institutional racism, where it has to be your nationality of like where your skin color comes from, and then plus American. Why can't we all be American? Why is that such a big? Why is that such a big?
I mean, because that makes too much sense, Brock. The leftist media, the leftists out there will not let you have it. They will not let you have it because that doesn't fit their agenda.
I remember I was talking to somebody, and they were talking about people in Africa. And I'm not even labeling a skin color here. They were just saying like, oh, they're African American. And I'm like, wait, they're from Africa? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, that makes them African. And they're like, no, that's not right. I'm like, no, it really does, because if they're from Africa and they are in Africa, Doesn't matter what skin color they are; they're African.
They're African. Yeah.
I don't understand what the friggin' deal is here, and they put this whole debate on me, where they're saying like, oh, well, that's a little insensitive. I'm like,
they're
no,
all the way down to making up pronouns. I mean, of course they're gonna lay that kind of crap on. Like,
you see what you just said there?
Yeah.
You see what you guys just said? That is why what happened today happened. It wasn't a white nationalist rally. This is people that have had enough of the cultural Marxism that is being thrown down our throats. They've had enough. They're starting to stand up and say no. And so now what you got is the mainstream media saying that anybody saying no to this cultural Marxism, you're a white nationalist. There was African Americans out there, African American patriots, Hispanic patriots, like myself, Asian patriots, but they're all white nationalists. Right. Because they disagree with Democrats and liberal bullshit.
Yeah, and I will go ahead and say about the whole car running into... and I will say one thing really quick about the whole car running into anybody. Like, I mean, if he actually was trying to hurt people doing that, like, really hurt them, then yeah, that's obviously wrong. I mean, it was wrong either way, no matter which side he was on. Yeah, that's completely messed up. But this was not a white nationalist rally. There might have been some people there that were white nationalists, but... I mean, there are some people.
Let's come to a conclusion. I mean,
it's ridiculous.
An atrocity was enacted, definitely.
Oh yeah.
But based off what mainstream media is labeling this as, you should not take that into serious consideration at all.
As soon as the mainstream media tells you anything, you should already automatically know, like, this is bullshit. Right. You know, why is the mainstream media last year and people?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
6% trust rating in mainstream media. They know they're dying. Yeah. People like us, citizen journalists, are winning. Why? Because we're on the ground with our phones. We're on the ground talking to real, actual people. We caught CNN faking a Muslim protest against that last terrorist attack. We've caught CNN with Project Veritas admitting that this whole Russian collusion conspiracy thing is a bunch of bullshit and a nothing burger.
Yep, and yet CNN is still allowed to exist. And I mean, this is like your number one indicator that this is all also complete bullshit too, is absolutely every mainstream media news outlet is running the exact same headline about it being a white nationalist rally.
And real quick, boys, quick, boys, we gotta let Brock go. He's gotta be off to our conspiracy V. He's gotta be off to a hot date. So
I gotta go. Thanks for having me on the show, guys.
Absolutely,
it's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Have a good one.
All right, keep it real. I'll see you next week probably, but y'all enjoy your day. All right.
Yeah, you too, Brock.
Thank you, Brock. All right. Well, we're probably going to wrap this up here pretty soon, too, anyways, guys. Did you guys actually play the actual clip of the car hitting the crowd?
We did, yes. Yeah. And now we have Al Jazeera USA saying that it's the white nationalists also. That's another reason that you should absolutely call this bullshit, is Al Jazeera USA is reporting the exact same thing as Fox News and CNN, MSNBC, ABC. I mean...
And these people are all owned by the same 6 people. Like, it's mainstream media is trying to drive shit down your throat. It's fake.
Yeah, when in the hell do these media groups ever agree on anything, and then all of a sudden they agree on this out of absolutely nowhere?
Because they're losing. They're losing to us. They're losing to people like us because we actually have on-the-ground intel. We're not faking protests. We're not making up news stories. Right. We're actually concerned citizens doing our job. And they want to shut us down. They want to shut alternative media down because they're losing. They cannot compete with a free market. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. What's the most libertarian thing about citizen journalists? Us right here.
Free market.
We actually do the right job.
Yeah, and you want to know what's actually funny about that? As we're sitting here talking about it, I am having trouble pulling up any clips that are not from mainstream media on this, and you would think that the citizen journalists that were there would be so much more on YouTube.
Yeah, but like, of course, the guy he was talking about, Augustine, what was his name, Invictus or
Augustus Invictus. He used to be a libertarian. He has switched over to the GOP. A lot of people do not like him because he's he's almost like Richard Spencer, not as bad, but he was a libertarian, and he's left the Libertarian Party because. Let's be honest here. A lot of leftists and socialists have infiltrated our party, ladies and gentlemen.
I still don't think it's as bad as you would think, but it's been like it's just like there's been a couple of higher ups that are a little bit alarming to me. You know what I mean? that like have.
I think overall the Libertarian Party still does believe in individualism, and I think that just because some of the hiccups that we've had doesn't mean that we've become some kind of leftist socialist party, which I hope it doesn't happen. But
if it ever does, then I'm abandoning it like in a heartbeat. I'm not beholden to a party. This is just the one that I feel like is trying to portray my views and, you know, further my values more than any other party currently. But if they ever stop doing that, then I'll switch to something else.
Right. I think Logan, you're right. I think that it's better than what a lot of people are saying. But there is that major factor of leftist infiltrating, and it is getting pretty ridiculous. But
I think it's a sideshow. And like with the Libertarian Party, our problem is like we're always amped based on our sideshows, not on our actual politics. It's always based on like, oh, the guy got naked, oh, Gary Johnson forgot Aleppo, and gay Nazi cake. It's never based on like, you know, the principles of self-ownership, values, and all that. They just make the party
property rights, individualism. Yeah. I mean,
it's unfortunate because the ideals themselves are pretty much, you know, common sense in my opinion.
Right. But, well, here we go, digressing again.
Yeah.
Before we sign out tonight, guys, I just want to ask you and Seth, Liberty Logan, what's your final take on what happened today? I mean, just give me a couple sentences on it. What do you guys think about this?
I mean, both sides really jumped right on this thing and used it as a rallying cry. I don't like how the Democrat mayor handled the situation at all, telling the police to stand down. I don't like how the mainstream media portrayed it. But I also do not like the white nationalist views that were on display there. I mean, you can see it in a couple of different interviews and a lot of people speaking openly about it, when I do believe a lot of them were paid off, maybe by George Soros or somebody else. But if they were or weren't, then I definitely, you know, condemn it. I think it's just absolutely ridiculous and stupid, and it's like it shows us going backwards rather than forwards. And we have more important things to worry about, like North Korea. We don't need to go back to the 1800s and rehash an old fight that we've already been through.
Right. And before you answer, I'll just say mine, is that what I see today is total sadness. I mean, there was some good things about this because there was some people out there trying to peacefully protest, but what I totally see here is, like Logan was alluding to, is I see George Soros' hands all over this. Like Hollywood actor James Woods tweeted today saying that, well, we know one person is happy today, and that is George Soros. The left, the globalists, the ruling elite got what they wanted today. They got to have the right wing on mainstream media and paint them as white nationalists and as terrorists. And I think that the mainstream media, we need to pay attention here. We all know that the mainstream media is fake news. Let's regather here. Don't let them create the narrative. Don't let them control the narrative. Speak up, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be sheep. Wake up and say your piece like we do here. Because if you don't say that what you feel about this, we let this go away. And George Soros wins. America takes another peg down the hole. Whether you're libertarian, Republican, conservative, whatever. We're losing the narrative here today, ladies and gentlemen. We got to stop it.
The truth more than the narrative.
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah, and my take
Seth,
on
go
it.
Ahead.
My take on it was pretty simple, and that is that I don't care really what your beliefs are. And I feel similarly to you. I'm sad that people were denied their freedom of speech today and were forced out of a park violently, and that's kind of groundbreaking in our time, and especially in my life. I've never seen anything so bold on behalf of so many people, and this is spreading and getting worse. So
it's definitely not getting better.
No, it's not. And Louis, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's up to each individual one of us to try to spread the truth and the principles of liberty and democracy. And I think someone said today on one of the news interviews today that basically like something along the lines of like, we really forgot today like who we are as Americans, and that this is not the way that things are handled democratically. This is beyond the point of peaceful protest, and that used to have power, and now it's being taken away by people like this, and like you said, the people funding it. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, sad day all around.
And I do have to understand. I understand because, like, I myself have to deal with this too, because it goes through my head too, because I'm sick and tired of the cultural Marxism that's being thrown down my throat. But the libertarian in me doesn't see that I need to go out and be violent about it. But at some point, people are going to snap, and it's not pretty.
No, it never will be. I mean, when people get to the point of snapping like that, it's whether you're on one side or the other, everybody is guilty of something. So, I think like today displayed that pretty well. No matter what, everyone is kind of guilty of something, especially when violence gets involved. Which, you know, everyone that we know, I know they didn't want that to happen, and you know, maybe there were some people that did, but it didn't solve anything. It just made it worse.
Well, all I know is that George Soros. God, it's not that I want him to die. It's that I don't want him to exist anymore. Or to breathe.
So to be clear, that is not a threat.
Yeah, that is not a threat.
Yes, quite. And if I end up dead tomorrow from suicide, I'm actually very happy and don't have any intentions of suicidal
His arms are way
thoughts.
too short to shoot himself in the back 5 times. I know, I've seen him.
Well, I will say this was the first episode that we never mentioned Seth Rich.
Oh, we were so close. And hey, did we have any freeze frames? Latency issues? I didn't notice any.
I think we did okay tonight.
We have not been zucked yet.
Yeah, so no zuckery.
Anywho, guys, thanks for checking in tonight. Lots of news is coming out about this. There's a lot of conspiracy theories coming in and out. A lot of news is still coming in and out. But
very quickly,
one thing is constant and for sure is that the Major League Libertarians are going to continue doing our thing. And check out our website, guys, www.majorleaguelibertarians.com. Check us out on Patreon. Throw us $1 a month, please. We could use the help. We got shit to do. We could go to these events if you guys would help give us some money. You know what I mean?
We could have been in Charlottesville covering it for you.
Yeah. We're going to have new shirts coming out. We're designing flat bill hats and snapback hats. We got shit coming out. More material, obviously. We're only going to get better here and only grow. So it's going to happen with your help. So if you like what we have to say, help us out. Huh?
Help us out, yeah.
All right.
Don't forget to tune in tomorrow night for our regular show, Sunday at 6 o'clock. We'll be going over a bunch of different topics then, and we'll let you know what's going on then. But thank you for listening.
Liberty prevails.
Liberty prevails.
Cue outro.
Cue outro.
Even from Fox News is these white nationalists. White nationalists. That
Every
that's a danger.
Outlet is saying white nationalists over and over again, and even though they're like a lot of the groups that were there, like the Oath Keepers were there. They're a huge group of former military people that like still want to keep their oath to the Constitution. They were there. They're not white nationalists. They have people from all different kinds of nationalities.
There's libertarians there. There's conservatives there. There's independents there. This isn't a white nationalist
There
rally.
was some white nationalist assholes, and like maybe they were paid, maybe they weren't. Either way, I definitely don't agree with their views because they're incredibly racist and ridiculous.
And that does not represent the movement. Those people do not represent the movement, and I'm going to have to say it right here.
And then they were just organized as hell out of nowhere.
I disavow any white nationalists. I'm sorry. Yes, I might agree with some of your ideas about the First Amendment, and yes, you do have the right to speak. Let's let that be known. But your racism reeks of stupidity and ignorance. I'm sorry. Because there's Hispanic people out there on this Unite the Right thing. There's black Americans out there. There's Asian Americans out there. And we got the mainstream media saying this is a white nationalist rally. That's not what this was.
They just found the white nationalists.
No, labeling is the easy.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Liberty Logan. I'm here with Liberty Lou, Conspiracy Beat, and of course, Producer Man himself. We got a special broadcast for you tonight over the sad and unfortunate events that happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. We want to talk a little bit about that. Also, we have first-hand account from a friend of ours that was on the ground there, Ken Corley. So anyway, Lou, why don't you tell us a little bit about how we got a hold of that and what went on?
Yeah, so yeah, today is a sad day. No matter what side, like I said in our little promo earlier, that no matter what side you consider yourself to be on this, not much good news is actually coming out of this. I have many friends there today, and luckily, thank goodness that they're all safe. Nobody's ultimately hurt, but there was a lot of atrocities caused today. One of our local friends, Ken Corley from Denver, Colorado, was there today filming, and he was there on the ground. We have a great account from him, but we had many friends there on the ground taking footage, taking clips and pictures. They got the first-hand accounts. Right. It started off peaceful like it was supposed to. This was supposed to be an event to unite the right, because the leftist cultural Marxism that we've been shoved down our throats for the past 8 years, it's been getting out of control, and they've had enough. This isn't just white nationalists. This is independents, libertarians, conservatives, Republicans. We've had enough of your Marxist BS. And so people are trying to stand up and say no peacefully. But unfortunately, we had this group of white nationalists apparently show up, and I don't think anybody...
Anti-Semites.
Yeah.
But it was
who the hell are these
like
people?
50 of them. Like 50 of them showed up, and they were brought in by buses. But I don't know.
It seems to me, like, from what I'm seeing from first-hand accounts, is that these people are also provocateurs paid from the same globalist elitists, like George Soros. They're being funded by the same side, is what it seems like to me.
I still maintain the theory that George Soros funded the white nationalists and funds Antifa. I mean,
exactly.
If you're going to fund Antifa, they need somebody to fight, and so far nobody at any of the rallies that they've showed up to protest and cause destruction at have ever said that they are white supremacists or white nationalists until all of a sudden
outside of Richard Spencer.
Yeah, outside of Richard Spencer, but I mean, how big of a following does he really have? I mean, he's a kingpin of it, but I honestly think he's a kingpin of that simply because there has to be one.
Well, think about it this way. I mean, honestly, I'm always going to look at this as an alternative motive, just like any other riots. It always comes down to a protest, but these are riots. Essentially, if everybody's coming together and protesting, that's fine. But when you're in the streets, you are actually destroying property, and that's a riot. So, I mean, this instance today, no, that should not be taken into accountability. But at the same time, it is a very horrible thing that happened. Right. But honestly, it's surprising that this is getting as much heat as it is with the violence that has been going on. But when it comes to the leftists actually causing this kind of damage, it doesn't actually come to light. But this one has been blown out of proportion.
Well, you're nailing it, Brock. You just nailed it right there. The mainstream media today, they've been trying to pin this on white nationalists and Republicans and conservatives. They're all so bad. They're all so racist. But now they have it because we had this group come in and just destroy this event. And now that's all you hear tonight that you're going to need to see. And I wish I had the words to say, but this is just awful. Awful what happened. It was supposed to be a peaceful Unite the Right rally. Unfortunately, groups from all sides came today, and they had to just ruin it for everybody, basically. What do you think, Logan?
I don't know. It turned violent really quickly. I don't like the way the mainstream media portrayed this as instantly calling it a white nationalist rally. That was the first thing I heard about it today was a white nationalist rally all of a sudden turned violent. And I was like, they actually still have white nationalist rallies? Because I haven't heard that this entire time. Antifa's been claiming it, and they've been claiming to fight it, but I've never heard anybody in any of those groups or protests claim to be white nationalists or white supremacists.
Yeah, this is a first.
Especially openly, which was weird to me.
Yeah.
And the way they just instantly hopped on that and started portraying it as that, every mainstream media source, CNN, Fox, MSNBC, all of them, I don't know. It all just seems fishy and weird.
So what happened is we've known about this event for a couple of months now. We were actually going to try to be there today, but unfortunately, we weren't allowed to go. Things happen, life happens. We're stuck here at home.